Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the study session of the West Valley School District Board of Directors. It is Tuesday, March 12, 6 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Any communications for the study session?
No communications.
Okay. So we have our one discussion item for the study session tonight, which is our 3 times a year data summit. So I guess the board members can go out into the audience because we have a projector. Or do we just want to sit here because we have the notebooks right here?
Yeah, we have the hard copy for the board and we have the projector for the audience.
No
so
problem.
We can just stay right here.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Sounds
welcome everyone. We have a lot more data this year because this is the first year we have longitudinal data from the qualitative surveys that we had of students, staff, and families. So we had the first year in the fall of 2022, and now we have fall of 2023. So we have some comparison data there. And so we did include all the data in the board packet, but we're not going to be able to go page per page through the packet tonight. But we wanted to be transparent and share that information with the board and also, of course, with the community by having it in the board packet, and that's a publicly available document. I do want you to know that we had a session with the representative from the Center for Educational Effectiveness who met with our administrators and took them through their school data. And so we have been engaging in that data from the surveys and just wanted to let you know that we followed up on that. We're going to start first with the quantitative data, looking at student achievement data, and we'll have Stacy Drake is going to take us through that part of the data summit, and then I'll take over and take a look at some of the more qualitative data. So Stacy Drake is going to take us through student achievement data.
Okay, thank you very much. So we start tonight with what we call WA Kids, which starts on the cover page, it's page 3. And then we have the trend data starting on page 4. So that's the page that I'm on. So if we look at the top where it says all students, you can see the 23-24 school year. That would be, we were at 51.3% of our incoming kindergartners reflecting on grade level or on age level of the tool that is used for the Washington Kindergarten Assessment Inventory of Developing Skills. This is an assessment that our kindergarten teachers give in the fall. The due date this year was actually November 15th, and we really use it in the West Valley School District as a measure of our early learning efforts to see how we're doing, working with the early learning community, getting our, making sure that our birth to 5 children are ready for kindergarten. So we did have a dip. We're at 51.3% this year compared to last year, 60.1% on age level. And there you can see the gender breakdown and then the ethnicity breakdown. And then on page 5, this shows the 6 domains of that assessment, the kindergarten assessment, and the percentage of students that in the West Valley School District that were deemed ready for kindergarten on age level. You can see here that the West Valley community is really good at the physical development. Our gross and fine motor is top notch, 88.4%. On the lower end, we have math at 68.9% of our students who are entering kindergarten are age ready. And then there's another way to look at it. We can look at the breakdown of gender and ethnicity. So when it says like 1 out of 6 areas, 2 out of 6 areas, it's reflecting those domains that we just looked at. And then here's a nice colorful way to look at it. You can see that each of our domains here, cognitive, language, literacy, math, physical, social, emotional, we score, our incoming students score rather high, with our lowest being mathematics. And so our early learning workshop, we just got this data in February. And so when we met with our community partners, we went over this data and decided that our April early learning workshop, we were going to focus on early math skills to work with our community providers. These are our friends that are running faith-based preschool, private preschools, home childcare centers. Those are the folks that come to our early learning workshops, and we present learning to them to help them in their profession and their job, and to help get our students kindergarten ready. So early math is the topic for the April training. And then on page 8 is the cover page for the iReady assessment. Is there any questions on the Walk Kids assessment? Okay.
I guess maybe just one thing is, back on page 6, we see that there really is a gap there. If we look at our ethnicity in West Valley, our largest group is Hispanic, looking at comparison to white. There is quite a gap that we have between Hispanic and white as the kids are coming into the system. Mm-hmm. So all these efforts that we have to do outreach to the community, and all the early learning, the play and learns that we have, and, mm-hmm. and all the work that we're doing, it's really important that we, as much as possible, have kids come in and try to close those gaps before they enter our system. We do see persistent gaps in our system, but it's actually as they enter the system, there's gaps. So we're just continuing to work on that in our early learning efforts, and trying to expand access to early learning.
Yes. And support our providers. Absolutely. Okay, so this is page 9 that I'm on. And unfortunately, if your binder is like mine, it's really hard to see the fall data. I think somebody in this group has the original, which is really easy to see, but it's not quite the one on the screen. So I'll just talk our way through it. This is the comparison of our iReady data. This page here, we start with reading. And if you look at that pyramid, that shows our tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 results by domain. So this means the students who are tier 1 are the green. That's the percentage of students who scored coming into this school year at grades K through 8 on grade level in reading. So you can barely see that in the fall, we were at 37% in the green. And now in the winter, our winter diagnostic, it is 54% in the green. Then the yellow, tier 2, is our students who are categorized as 1 year behind. And that went from 38% in the fall to 28% in the winter. So that's good. We want that to go down. We want our green to go up, obviously. We want to move students from the tier 1 or the tier 2 into the tier 1. And then the red is students who are 2 or more years behind in reading based on the diagnostic assessment that was given in the fall and the winter. And we went from 25% in the fall to 18%. And this is just the entire district K-8 in reading. So unfortunately, you can't see below, or somebody can who has the original, the comparison of each school.
Hey, Stacy.
Yes.
Is the going from fall to spring, is that a normative jump? And you see that every year, or is that a continual growth that we've seen in the last few years?
Well, this is fall to winter, so we haven't gotten spring yet. But yes, this is really the number of children that are scoring on grade level. So no, this isn't normed. It is normed nationally, but I don't have that data. Hopefully I'll have it in the spring. So then we can look across the country and how the West Valley School District compares to districts across the country. Typically, we're pretty high in our iReady, especially reading, compared to others in the country. So this is a diagnostic assessment that students take 3 times a year, and it's really used for teachers to be able to identify gaps in their learning and their reading development, and to group students It gives them really good information about where students' skills might be lighter than and where to put their emphasis in their teaching. So, but then we use it kind of at the district level to just gauge where we are. It's a formative assessment. You know, there is an alignment in grades 3, 4, and 5 from the iReady to the state assessment to the SBAC.
I guess the other thing to add is that when students are placed, especially with our math program, then the students are able to go and do the online instruction with iReady, and it's integrated, so they have the diagnostic assessment, and that places them appropriately into their online learning. So it's an integrated system.
Computer adaptives, yep. So they can have personalized instruction based on their gaps, but then the teachers also use it to plan their instruction in the classroom. So the darker line that you're looking at for each of these elementary schools is the winter data. And then the next page, which is page 11, is the math iReady data. So in case you can't really see it, in tier 1, those are our students who scored on grade level. Coming into the fall, they were at 26% on grade level, and in winter, we're at 44%. So that's quite a jump. The yellow, which remember is 1 year behind, tier 2, our tier 2 students went from 50% in the fall, 1 year behind, to 40%. And the red, which is 2 or more years behind, went from 25% to 17%. And that's again, district K through 8. And then if you can see it on your copy, the darker line is the winter data and the lighter line is the fall data for a comparison for each building. And then on page 13, we have some diagnostic growth data. So what happens with iReady is students, based on how they come in the fall, they are given a growth goal depending on what level they come in, and they're given a certain number of points that's individualized to them based on how they come in, whether they're on grade level or slightly behind grade level or greatly behind grade level. And that is their growth goal, their annual typical growth goal. That is normed across the country. So this is the amount of points that we would expect a student to make in a typical school year. So that's what we want them to make in the spring, is that many points. We look at winter data and we determine how many students are about halfway to their goal. That's where we'd want to be. The stretch goal that you see up there is the goal that's given to students for the students who are far behind to really catch up. So if they're in the yellow or in the red, if they're 1 or more years behind, their typical growth goal will be a little more than those students who come in on grade level, but their stretch goal will get them closer to the goal. No one expects a student who is 3 years behind to make that kind of growth in 1 year, although sometimes it happens, which is fabulous. This is really just typical growth and stretch growth. So we look at where buildings are with the buildings take this growth data and they look at which of their teachers are about halfway, more than half of their students progressing towards their goal. Or let me say it the other way. They're looking for the majority. They want the majority or all of the students in the class to have made 50% of their goal when we're halfway through the year. So you can see here that reading is, we have 39% of our students on track to reach their growth goal by the end of the school year. And then you can see the percent met there for each school, each building. And then the next page is student growth goals, diagnostic growth goals for math. And we have 28% halfway through the year of our students on track to meet their growth goal, diagnostic growth goal in mathematics. in each building and the percentage of students that have met their goal. And then the next several pages are iReady diagnostic results broken down by school. So this is the percentage of students who are on level. This is back to the diagnostic results. So if you remember the green, the yellow, and the red, this is the percentage of students that are in the green that are on grade level. For each teacher, we have the teachers labeled teacher A, teacher B, teacher C. And then you can see the fall to winter. So we would expect the percentage to grow. You can see there, like on that first page at Tandem, kindergarten teacher A, in the fall, they had 32% of their students coming in the green on grade level. And at winter of 2024, that teacher has 84% of the students on grade level for where they should be in winter. And then that each school building follows there. So I'll just flip through those. Luckily, everyone has their printed out packet. They don't have to try to read while I'm scrolling quickly through. Okay, so that was iReady, ELA, reading, and math. And now we are at the Smarter Balanced Assessment. Catch up to my notes here. Okay, I'm on page 25. So this page shows us our results on the SBAC last spring. So this is spring of 2023. This is the Smarter Balanced Assessment and the WCAS, the Science Assessment. And you can see ELA is in black and math is in green and science is in blue. And this is the percentage of students that reached proficiency on each of those assessments in each grade level district-wide. So we often look at not only, we look at our scores in comparison to the state just to kind of give us a framework of where we are. And I looked at that this morning, and we are ahead of the state average in every area and level except 7th grade math. We're behind in 7th grade math. And 7th grade math was at 36.4 and the state was at 36.8. So we're about equal with the state. And then 8th grade science, we're behind. We were at 32.2 and the state was at 41.4. And then something that really stood out to me was 8th grade math. Our 8th grade students scored 53.9% of our 8th grade students scored proficiency in math. That's a level 3 or a 4, and the state was at 32.3. So that's pretty impressive. And you'll see some more impressive data from 8th grade math in a minute.
Hey, Stacy.
Yes.
What's the do we know or have any idea of what the reason has such a big gap between 7th grade and 8th grade on math?
I would be guessing. I can tell you that the last couple of years that I've assisted Dr. Finch in this, looking at this assessment data, 8th grade math is always, like, both on the iReady and on the state assessment, our 8th grade teachers are just killing it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to reflect on what's happening or not happening at 7th grade, but I know that there's some really great things in place at 8th grade.
And we have had some change in staffing at 7th grade for this year. So a lot is the teams and their collaboration, and then the use of the personalized instruction that we have through the station rotation and the use of the technology tools that we have.
Okay, the next page is our first look at the student growth goals at the state level. So these are referred to as the SGPs, the student growth percentiles, and the way it's calculated is The state takes, for example, all of the students at 3rd grade that scored a certain level and looks at how they've scored in the 4th grade to look at growth. So that's how you get the 4th grade student growth percentile. So looking at this form, if you look at math, for example, that green bar at 4th grade, our 4th graders scored 65% higher than the rest of the students in the nation who take the Smarter Balanced Assessment. They scored 65% higher than students who scored the same as them when they were in 3rd grade. That makes sense. That's the student growth percentiles. So if you look at this chart, what's really remarkable, again, is the student growth percentile in 8th grade math, 75%. That's pretty remarkable. Okay, and then we're back looking at proficiency levels for each building. So you can see the next page. I'm on page 27 for a TANM. That's where each grade level and each grade level scored in each content area. Students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade take ELA and math, and 5th grade students take science in our elementary schools. So this is the percentage of students who met standard at each of our buildings. So I'll flip through those. And then at the mid-level campus, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we do science at 8th grade. And then you have the Innovation Center. 7th, 8th, and 10th grade take the math, and 8th and 11th grade take the science. And then you see the high school data. I'm on page 35. And then we're looking again at student growth. Let's see that cover sheet. Does anybody have any questions about that state assessment data? Okay, this is student growth. Okay. So on page 37, this is those student growth percentiles. For each building, it's 4th and 5th grade at our elementary schools, because again, they look at the difference, how the students scored in 3rd grade to line them up with all of those students across the nation to see how much they grew in 4th grade. And a TANM is pretty impressive in 4th grade. Those student growth percentiles at 76 in ELA and 84.5% in math. It's pretty amazing. And then they follow for each building. It's nice for us to be able to look at growth finally. We didn't get to during COVID because they shortened the assessment, so then there wasn't really a comparison. But it's helpful for buildings that are really working hard to get students to proficiency to see what their growth is. So I'm flipping through every building student growth percentile. And then the next section is the Smarter Balanced Assessment. Starting on page 45 is the cover page. And this is very similar to the iReady, the way we looked at it by school and by grade level with teachers A, B, and C. This is, again, the percentage of students that met standard, that met proficiency. So this is a TANM on this, starts with 3rd grade, and then you can see a TANM, Apple Valley down the left side, Cottonwood, with teachers A, B, and C, and the percentage of students in that class that met proficiency on both ELA in the blue and math in the purple.
Do we use this? You have to be a little bit careful about teaching to the test, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But you can look, by teacher at in some of these buildings, and there's a few that there's a few classrooms where the percentages don't look like the others. So
Mm-hmm.
so do we use this in terms of directing professional development for for some of our teachers that may have had, and it's not, and I should say that it's not always the teacher. It could be the class
Right.
itself. So it's not
Well, and
just
remember
because-
too, on
yeah.
the walk kids, like how
Yeah.
the students come in.
right.
So that's why we tend to look more. We've been looking more at growth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why we look at the iReady diagnostic growth. And that's why we're looking at the student growth percentiles, because it's really about growth when students don't come
Right.
in on level. But yes, we absolutely look at, this is an assessment. The Smarter Balance is an assessment of the standards. So the teaching to the test, it's teaching to the standards, which is what we do.
Sure.
So absolutely, we, in collaboration, the principals meet with the teachers in the fall and look over their spring data and have individual meetings with teachers, breaking it down all the way down by student, look at groups of teachers, find out, why the teacher, have asked teachers to reflect on their data. Teachers are very eager to get this data. It used to take months. We used to not get it until mid-August. Now it's pretty quick. It's within 10 days. Teachers are constantly checking to
Yeah.
see their scores, to see which students pass. So there's lots of reflection and goal setting around the SBAC data. And next year with our strategic plan, the goals are focused around the percentage of students who are on grade level at each grade.
Sure.
Then the other thing that we have in West Valley is that for our new teachers, we have multi-year support, so that as a new teacher comes in the district, they're being supported with the work of Kimber Henning, and so they can really focus on getting up to speed on what are the standards, how do you analyze the results of the Smarter Balance, and then how do you adjust instruction. So they're supported by their grade level team, but also through our mentor program as well.
So then there is that is the SBAC by each building. All right.
All right.
That's it for
Well,
me.
perfect timing. So that was about half of the study session with the quantitative. Now we'll start taking a look at some of our demographic data, and eventually we'll get to the qualitative data of the surveys. So we're now on page 50. That's the student demographic data. Turn to page 51. You can see if we look at our enrollment, it has returned from the COVID time. So we're total in October 2023 is 5,610 students. So nice to see our enrollment coming back. If you look at the ethnicity, where you can say ballpark about 50% white, 40% Hispanic, and about 10% other. So technically, I think it's 52%, 52.5% white there, but kind of in general, 50% white, 40% Hispanic, and 10% other. So that's quite a change from previous, as you can see the line graph there. If we look at our teacher demographics compared to student demographics, just said a second ago, about 40% Hispanic, 50% white. Our teaching staff is 73% female and about 93% white. So we've talked about, wanting to have cultural competence for our teachers, and then also looking to diversify our workforce. The YVC, Yakima Valley College, is getting their program back up and running for the bachelor's degree for teacher education. So we'll restart that partnership as well. And we've sent out information about the opportunity for paraeducators to get into that program if they're interested in becoming a teacher. Next, we'll look at our student attendance data. And we all know across the country, there's been concerns after COVID about student attendance. You can see at the top on page 55, in the 2019-20 school year, we were at 91.7% of our students having regular attendance, meaning not having chronic absences, meaning 10% or more missing during the school year. There's quite a dip that happened during COVID, and in the 21-22 school year was 65.8%, and now we're up to 71.8% in the 22-23 school year. That's the most recent data we have. So we're going to continue to work on student attendance. There's various strategies that our schools are doing, and we'll monitor their effectiveness.
Hey, Peter.
Yes.
I know you don't have the stats or anything, but for the current school year, do you see the attendance going up still? Do you see that growth still, or?
Yeah, the attendance information from the state lags, so it's hard to get the exact number. But we have had identified groups of students that are like on a case management and that's been an effective way to impact those students. Student discipline data, it's always important to see if we have disproportionality of student discipline. Obviously, during COVID, there was a decrease in suspensions. This is the percent of students that are suspended. Since that time, it's starting to tick upwards. So in the 22-23 school year, we had 5.2% of students were suspended. And if you disaggregate, it's kind of hard to see on the graph. If you turn the page to page 58, you can see we do have gaps and we do have disproportionality, especially with students with disabilities. We don't want to see that disproportionality, so that is a concern. It's for the most recent data, 9% of students with disabilities had a suspension during the school year, compared to 4.5% of students without disabilities. So that is a concern to have that disproportionality. And if you turn to page 59, it's a little easier to read the data and to see that we're starting to creep back to have some disproportionality, especially if you look at ethnicity. In previous years, there was very minimal difference. During the 22-23 school year, for Hispanic students, it was 6.4% compared to white students, 4.5%. So that is starting to be statistically significant. So that's a concern. So we're going to continue to work to find ways to have our students be successful and stay in school and not be suspended. Next, we'll look at graduation rate. So Mr. Strong had asked to take a look at what the state average is. And so that's on page 61. That's the state graduation rate. So most recent in the class of 23 is 83.6%. And if you turn and look at our high school, we're up to 90.3%. So that's a real difference. We used to be kind of around the state average a few years ago, and we've been generally trending upwards. And this is the first year that's on the graph that we're over 90% of graduation. So class of 2023 for West Valley High School had a 90.3% graduation rate. The next data is page 63, ninth grade on track for graduation. This is data that we have not included in the data summit in the past, but as we were working on our strategic plan, realized that this is important data as a leading indicator for graduation. Want to make sure that students are on track for graduation after their ninth grade year, meaning in West Valley, that's passing all your classes. So if you fail a class, then you're going to have to make it up somehow, or you're not on track for graduation. And you can see for our high school on page 64, we actually had an increase of students that are on track for graduation, but that 72.3% still is quite low, we feel. We'd like to see that up to, for our graduation rate, if we want to be 90%, well, then we want the ninth grade on track to be 90%. So that's going to be something that we monitor closely in the future, and we've already identified some strategies that we want to do to intervene if students are having difficulty in ninth grade, and actually identify students who might be coming in the door that we predict that might struggle, and put success plans into place for those students as they transition from 8th grade to 9th grade. So that's some of the, to give you a peek and a preview of the strategic plan. That's one of the strategies that we're going to be focusing on. Next page is it's disaggregated. We're probably not going to be able to spend a lot of time diving into these, but certainly if you have questions and also areas that we want to focus on, I'll give us some time for discussion at the end of the data packet. Next is dual credit. So that's where students earn college in the high school, or it also includes the Running Start students. So if you look on page 67, this is the highest we've ever had in West Valley for those seniors. We're at 89.9%. So 90% of students of the class of 23 they completed successfully a dual credit class. So that's really outstanding, and appreciate the work of our teachers at the high school to support students in dual credit. We've been expanding dual credit opportunities over the years, and so we're at the point now where 90% of students for the class of 23 in their senior year completed a dual credit class. That's really outstanding. Next is our efforts on inclusion in West Valley and efforts to serve students in the regular education setting. So you turn page and look at 69. In the past, we've been tracking this ever since we had identified that, at a 56% in November 2018, that was quite low. That about half of students were not being served for the majority of their day in the general ed setting. These are students with the IEP, Individual Education Plan, so students in special education program. Since we identified that as a goal, we've been trending upwards. And we're at the point now where we're up to 76% of students last fall. That's the most recent data we have. So 76% of students served for 80 to 100% of their school day in general ed setting. We'll see. We may be getting to the point where we might be plateauing a little bit there, and we really have started to focus on moving students in other categories. So they break it into these from 0 to 20%, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, and 80 to 100. And so I think this is something that we're looking at in our data summit, that we'll bring you data, because our focus now is to move students who are in the developmental learning classrooms and move those students into more portion of their day. Maybe they might not get to the 80% to 100% of their school day, but we want to move it from the 0 to 20 to move it to 20 to 40%. So we, as we were putting the packet together, we were thinking that that's something that we can bring to the table next time, take a look and disaggregate that data a little more. Next is the Washington School Improvement Framework. So all of our schools have the framework except for the Innovation Center, because this is longitudinal data and Innovation Center hasn't been in place for long enough to get a score. Just always want to share this with you because the state uses this framework to identify schools in need of improvement. And so we can just jump to the mid-level campus. That is on page 77. So mid-level campus, as a result of taking a look at our results that we have for our students that are American Indian and Alaska Native, the state has identified that our mid-level campus is in need of improvement for our services to those students. And so we have identified strategies in general. We focused our culturally proficient instruction, the day for professional development. We focused that district-wide on serving our Native American students. And we've had some great improvements from our family engagement department and state and federal programs. We're looking to apply for Title VI funds, which are federal funds that can be used for services for Native American youth. So just wanted to share with you that we do have that school improvement index, and we do use that to target our improvement efforts. All right. Next, we're going to look at postgraduate data. So in West Valley, we've always been proud that we look at not only the data of the students in our system, but also once they graduate and go on to post-secondary education, how are our students doing? And so we use that as a measure of success as well. So this is from data set that is publicly available. A lot of school districts don't use this data. I've actually led some sessions regionally for superintendents to dive in and see how they could get the data for their district. So on page 80, it is showing us what the trend line from the class of 2005 to the class of 2021, where do our students go? And so the most recent data is about 50% of students go on to higher ed and 50% of students do not. Of the students who go on to higher ed, 30% are going to a 4-year college and 20% go to a 2-year college. So we're kind of about 50-50. We actually had a trend downward, and that is also, we see that across the nation, that after COVID, that there's been less students going on to higher ed. There's been a trend downward. Some, we question about, the effectiveness or the value, the return on investment for going into higher ed. And so that's also, I guess, I would say also that we looked at other pathways as well, that it doesn't necessarily have to be a 2-year college or 4-year college, that we can put pathways into place for trades and students can have a livable wage through the various pathways.
I was curious why, when I was looking at this, why it didn't have trades in there, because those are getting more important.
I agree. I think the N is so low right now on the apprenticeship that it doesn't show for a district. But if we were to look at the Washington State data, then it does pop up as apprenticeship. But the N, they're not going to report if the N is so low. Yeah.
Dr. Finch.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, do we keep any data or any information on the schools that our students go to postgraduate, for example,
that's a good
Washington State, or do they go out of state?
That's a good question. So
Which state
we
tends
will,
to take more of our students?
yeah. So we'll get to that here
Okay.
on page 87. So we'll so that was page 81. Was again just breaking that down and being able to see the trend lines a little bit better. We look at page 82 is looking at college attendance in some different categories. So they free and reduced priced lunch, as that's FRPL. So free lunch versus non-free lunch students, or that's a proxy for income. So low income versus non-low income, and then special education versus non-special education. And so we have that data there. We have male and female data, and so there is a difference. We have more young women going on to college than young men, and then we have by next page is 84, breaking that out by Hispanic and white is the two major populations that we that have a large enough N to report. And it actually is interesting because it's still about 50-50, but for Hispanic students, 24% went on to four-year college. Of white students, 33% went on. And then for two-year college, 31% of Hispanic students and 25% of white students. So it's still about 50-50, but interesting mix between four-year college and a two-year college. Next is percent of graduates enrolled in college during the first year after graduation by grade point average. So students having greater than a 3.0 average is very predictive of going on to college. But we have had increase. If you look way back, class of 2005, it was only 3% of students with less than 3.0, and then that's been increasing up to 11%. So that's nice to see that increase. Next is
This is a
yes,
technical question,
Sure.
but is there ever any data of somebody that maybe starts, this is a year after, like 2 years after? Sometimes people take a break and then move on. Is that?
yeah, that there is that persistence data. So I could bring that to the.
Just curious.
Yeah. And then we have whether they went to a public or private school in Washington State. This is on page 86. So that's on the left-hand side, Washington, public, private school, and then out of state is the OOS. And it kind of varies over the years. You kind of see a zigzag there. But in general, we've had an increase in students going to private out-of-school colleges. They don't report which colleges those are. But if you turn to page 87, Mr. Strong, just as you requested, this does give you the largest number of in-state institutions and tells us where our students are going. So for the class of 2023, it was, or 20, not 23, it's the 2020 or 2021. Largest is Yakima Valley College, 32%. Next is Central Washington University for a four-year college, 14%. And the University of Washington was 5%. Other is 3%. Western Washington University, 5%. And Washington State University, 6%. So that kind of gives you a sense. So we've seen a trend upwards in students going to Central. I would say that we do have a strong partnership with Central. We have the Ram to Wildcat, where students can complete their general requirements for their entry into their major all on our campus at the high school. And we have instituted the guaranteed admissions program. So students with a 3.0 average who have taken the prerequisites for college, they are automatically admitted to Central Washington University. Next is page 88. This is looking at our pre-college course taking, and probably don't have time to go through all these page by page, but just in general, there's been a trend downward of students having to take math remediation. We're really happy to see that. And again, I attribute that to the work that we have with college and the high school. Our financial algebra 2 class, Jamie Zeller teaches a full class load, 5 periods a day of the financial algebra 2, and that helps to get the college entrance requirement. So students don't have to take a sub 100 level class as they go to both a 4-year college or a 2-year college. Next is the FAFSA completion. We've seen this across the nation with the delay in the release of the new FAFSA. There's been a decrease in students currently in the class of 2024 completing their FAFSA. So we do have real-time data. It's being reported on a weekly basis. And you can see we were trending downward already. Kind of have that general trend of students in general not going to college as much as the past. And then now this year, it's quite low at 32%. So we've had our different various FAFSA nights. We've had some strategies, and we're still seeing low completion rate right now. So that is concerning because you would see this as a leading indicator. If the students get their FAFSA done, there's more, obviously, a chance that they'll apply to college and continue on. So that's a concern. All right, and next is qualitative data. So we have quite a lot here. We have the longitudinal data for students, families, and staff. And not going to be able to go page by page. I actually just wanted to keep this in the packet if there was any questions that you had previously, but I want to jump all the way to page 172. So if you're on the overhead, we're going to go quite a bit forward here. So 172 really is a nice summary of how does West Valley compare against other schools that have done the survey. And so are we at 172 on the overhead yet?
I'm getting there.
We're getting there. Okay. I'll wait so we can. So page 172, we have the staff results are in blue, the family results are in yellow, and the students' results are in red. And so it just kind of gives us a summary. In general, our staff and student results are much higher than you see in other schools. And in quite a few areas, the students' results are lower. And so that is, it's great to see the higher results for staff and families. The one area that's higher for students is parent and community involvement. So that's real encouraging to see. But the supportive learning environments, these type of things going on, we're also hearing this from our focus groups. So this gives us an area to kind of focus in on. And if we turn the page to look at page 173, this really gives you a jump out. What are the top and bottom surveys results? So the family is down at the bottom of the page, and they're all in the blue. They're all very high. So it's very encouraging that our families are in many ways very satisfied with the schools. The one that jumps out for student, the lowest of students, is most students are respectful of others at the school. So that's the lowest score of any of the survey questions for students. So again, most students are respectful of others at the school. So that is a concern. And certainly as we've been working on the strategic plan, this is an area of focus, is goal 1 for all of our schools, a safe, a culture of safety and belonging for all students. So that safety of being treated with respect and a feeling of belonging. And it's interesting, if we look at the staff, the lowest is we talk about race and bigotry as a staff. So I think having our leaders be able to lead conversations, and it might be uncomfortable conversations, but we've got to be able to have a culture where we're going to address race and bigotry and be able to have protocols that we can follow when students are not being respectful to each other's. And then also having the frameworks for social and emotional learning and protocols to address when there's instances of disrespect. So we have work to do, and that's going to be something that we're going to focus on. That question right there, most students are respectful of others. We want to see that improve as we continue to do the surveys each year. So I think that was, those are the two I really wanted to highlight. The final 3 pages, or let's see, where was it? It's the very neutral current land of opportunity. Oh, there we go. So the final 3 pages are page 177, 178, and 179. So interesting to look at what are items that have a 33% or more neutral responses. So what are some of the areas of focus, basically, that we can focus on, our opportunities? For the staff, it's again, our school community engages in difficult conversations about race. Instruction is personalized. My colleagues welcome new ideas. We talk about race and bigotry. District leadership communicates effectively with my school. I receive training on instruction to support social emotional learning. So those are areas of opportunity. And again, the support for social emotional learning and having a framework for that, that's part of our strategic plan, is to identify that and to move forward with that training. So those are the opportunities there. Next one is students on page 178. So that's the most students are respectful of others at this school, and some of the other areas there that are opportunities for improvement. And then the final is interesting on page 179. What are areas that are neutral in the family responses? There's none that were basically neutral. So all the responses were quite positive. And again, we had quite an increase in our this year. That was a goal that the board had identified, was to increase participation. So we went from around 600 families that participated up to 1,000 this year, close to 1,000. So we had quite an increase in the family responses, and we still had high positive responses from the families. So I guess the takeaway is that maybe the family and their perception of the schools is different than the student experience. And I think what I've talked to, like, one is that my child is safe at school. When they're answering that, I think they're talking about physical safety. When the students are answering it, it's more about their emotional safety, and that we have work to do in our learning environments so that we can ensure that our student experience is a very positive one. And then there was another part that I didn't want to gloss over. One of the areas that we had gone down in was district administration communication with the schools. And I think that with the strategic plan, we've been working on it this year. I think by having that in place for next year, we'll really be able to improve our communication and also have a constant follow-up on the goals of the strategic plan, and then also to share successes and give good communication on things that are happening in a positive direction for the implementation of the strategic plan. So I think that'll be a good opportunity as well. All right, so I did want to give a little chance for the board if there's some data that that you'd like to see at the next summit, such as like that persistence data that Mr. Walcott had talked about. And if there's others that you'd like to have us take a look at, a chance for me to stop talking, a chance for me to listen.
I'm not sure who brought it up, but I'd love to see data on trade school involvement afterwards.
Mhm.
And then my other question was on the FAFSA, because it was so down so low. Is part of that because we're only halfway through the year? Do you expect that to go up a lot?
Yeah, we do expect it to go up. It is concerning, and we're seeing it across the nation. In fact, some colleges have changed their deadlines for FAFSA completion and their deadlines for even giving out the financial aid, because there was a delay by the government on releasing the new FAFSA form. So there's kind of a delay happening right now this current year, but we'll continue to monitor, because we get it every week. They update the information, and it's great that they are able to give it for West Valley High School. I mean, that's really good.
Jed Waters is kind of the lead on getting that information to the students, right?
That's correct, but we also work closely with the counselors at the high school, and then our family engagement team works closely. So it was really working together as a team to have those strategies. One of the things that we learned was that some families haven't done their taxes, and so if you haven't done your taxes, then that's going to be a barrier to getting your FAFSA done. So providing resources for families on how to get their taxes done, that's been something that our family engagement team has done. Any other discussion or data you'd like to see next time? All right, I got college persistence data, our trade school data, and the follow-up on the FAFSA.
Just before we adjourn, just a question. I I don't have to go to the website as much as a community member would, but so these are wonderful materials. They are posted to the website,
Mhm.
and so is next to the website. I always, so it's interesting as I prepare for these meetings, particularly the data summit meeting. I'm looking at the data but the presentation is kind of helps at least me tie it together. So I don't know, I don't know how it looks on the website, but does here are the materials, and here's the link that you can just click right to that takes you right to YouTube to pull it together. Is that how we do it, or is that how we can do it?
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. And especially maybe just a summary of some of the data that we've had.
Yeah.
And then if the person wants to do a more deep dive, we'll give them the link to get to the board packet.
Yeah, if it was just like, here's the packet, here's the link
Yeah.
to the study session that helps tie it together. I just, every time I have sat through these, you actually do a really good job of the questions that I'm going to have you actually address before I ask them. So, which is nice, and it helps. That's to my point. It helps tie everything together for the lay person.
Sure.
So
It's a good
thank you.
suggestion. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else from the board? All right. So it is 6:56. We'll adjourn the study session to the top of the hour, where we will do the regular school board meeting.
Okay, very good.
let Mr. Strong get into position. We're ready? Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the West Valley School District Board of Directors meeting. It is Tuesday, March the 12th. It is 7:01 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes?
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to I was going to say exclude. A motion to excuse Joel and James tonight. They have kids choir concerts to be at this evening. So I'd like to make a motion to excuse them this evening.
So moved.
I've already made the motion. I'm gonna call for a vote.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries 3-0, which is a quorum, by the way. Communications, item 5, request for public comment. Are there any? Oh, yes,
All right.
there are.
Yes, we do have a response to public comment. So at the school board meeting on February 27th, 2024, a community member asked for information about the district's costs for the Climate Commitment Act and information about the focus for the state-directed Learning Improvement Day for culturally responsive instruction. Regarding the Climate Commitment Act, the district contracts with Pacific Power for electricity and Cascade Natural Gas for natural gas. Currently, both companies do not report a line item for the cost of the Climate Commitment Act. Cascade Natural Gas has stated that they will report a line item beginning on May 1st of 2024. Pacific Power has not stated when they will report a line item. The cost for utilities varies with annual temperatures and the amount of use. The district's cost for electricity decreased from December 2022. It was $78,545.70 to December of 2023. It was a cost of $64,907.02. Regarding the Learning Improvement Day, state law requires the school district to focus the topic of one Learning Improvement Day each year. During the 23-24 school year, the Learning Improvement Day on Friday, October 13th, 2023, was focused on culturally responsive instruction. Our district focus was incorporating lessons that were culturally responsive in regards to Native American culture. A guest speaker from OSPI presented to all staff via Zoom regarding history and culture, as well as online resources that are available, such as since time immemorial resources. Secondary teachers used the information to work in department teams to review lessons and identify areas where culturally responsive instruction could be integrated. Elementary teachers met in grade level teams where instructional coaches shared lesson plans for each grade level that were developed by the instructional coaches using principles from guided language acquisition design. For example, for grade 4, one lesson focused on tribal and state government perspectives on natural resources, state economy, and education. And that's the response to public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. Item 5B, School Retirees Appreciation Week.
All right. Well, I don't think I see our student representatives in the audience. I was going to request that one of them read this, but without them there, I will step up and read this proclamation from the governor regarding our School Retirees Appreciation Week. So that is coming up next week, March 18th to 24. Proclamation says, whereas Washington State recognizes the accomplishments of all retired school employees, and whereas it is important to acknowledge the value of educating and assisting retirees in meeting with special challenges retirement brings and work to improve their general welfare. And whereas school retirees and organizations like the Washington State School Retirees Association aid in advancing education by supporting high educational standards. And whereas school retiree organizations such as the WSSRA promote group and individual involvement in charitable projects and activities, sponsor scholarships, and maintain interest and participation in education and community activities. And whereas retired educators are encouraged to remain active in the education profession through volunteer activities associated with learning. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim March 18 through 24 of 2024 as School Retirees Appreciation Week in Washington, and I urge all people in our state to join me in this special observance. And we do have a retiree here in our audience, so let's thank them.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. On to item 6, which is our school presentation. We're thrilled to be at Mountain View as we make our tour of schools throughout the district as the year goes along. So, Dr. Finch, why don't I turn it over
Very
to you?
good. So we'll have Principal Clayton Wyckoff is going to do the presentation. We will ask the board to join the audience so that we can see the PowerPoint. So just give us a second and we'll join the audience, and then Clayton can begin.
You good there? All right. As Dr. Finch said, I'm Clayton Wyckoff, first year principal at Mountain View Elementary. This first slide, I just want to say thank you to the board and to the staff that chose me. I'm talking to Dr. Finch about this presentation late last week, and I just really want to highlight a little bit of where I come from. And I just want to say I've come full circle, returning my roots, however you want to say it, and I love every minute of it. I have some really strong opinions about, not opinions, I should say, emotions about some of the things I went through in the last 7-8 years of the high school and coming to Mountain View. It's just like, it is how education is supposed to be. I absolutely love it here. So I promise this whole presentation is not about me, but I am going to take a little bit of time. I'm a 1987 West Valley High School graduate, P3 major in college, K8 minor. From there, I did my student teaching and practicum in 1st and 2nd grade in Yakima and Natchez. I finished out the year as a long-term substitute in a 2nd grade classroom in Natchez for the great Karen Craig, who ended up here. As you know, Karen, she actually subbed for me this year on Halloween. I was in Seattle for our principals conference, and she wore her princess costume. So those of you who have been around long enough, she's had that princess costume since I student taught for her in Natchez Primary, or I did a long-term sub. At that time, I recently married, and we realized, you know what, benefits might be kind of cool. You know, my wife was also a graduate, and so I went back to work for a corporate child care. I was a preschool director and program supervisor at Irwin Research and Development. Had about 60-ish kids. Great experience. And then West Valley. So back then in the mid 90s, it was very, very, very competitive to become a teacher. So you put in your application, and there might be 50 or 60 applicants. And unless you have experience, it was really hard. Sela took a chance on a first-year guy. I got hired 2 days before the first day of school. A well-respected teacher moved to the high school as a counselor, and I had all the parents, the power parents, because everybody wanted her, and they got me. And I just said, give me a chance. So that was 5th grade. From there, the great Jim Fannin and Dave Jagger hired me away from Sela to come to West Valley. Taught 7th grade math and science. And then I moved to the junior high, became the athletic director, activities director for, I think that was about 7 or 8 years as well. And through all this, in 95, I was also a baseball coach at the high school. Went from assistant coach, head coach, back to assistant coach and a volunteer. And then, 20 some years, that's after spending years in Toppenish and Sela. So, then I moved to the high school, athletic director, assistant principal. And here's what I want to highlight right there. That right there is something that I can't stress it. I can't say enough how proud I am to talk about, or to show that right there. One thing I didn't mention is welcome to my first host school presentation. This is my first one. All right. Thank you. So this is my new reality. So we had a color run fundraiser. I put this one in there because I wore black. Everybody's like, why are you wearing black? I'm like, nobody told me what a color run was. So why are you doing that? And then it's kind of hard to see up there, but my pointer's not going to work right now. But then there's partner reading that's going on with a 5th grader and a kindergartner. The third picture on the top, that's Epic with their new classroom furniture. And we'll talk about that a little bit. Dr. Seuss Day was here last Friday. I dressed up as the Cat in the Hat and I read to kids all day long. Those of you who've ever read the Cat in the Hat, it's a long book. Reading it every 15 minutes. I went home and took a nap. It was great. At Mountain View, we have things called Pride Packs. So every late start Wednesday, I have 9 or 10 of my own kids, and they'll stay with me for the kindergartners. They'll be with me through 5th grade. So we build that cohort kind of like the high school does with Ramstrongs. And then the bottom middle picture, our Ignite Club girls that are doing, they meet at lunchtimes, and that was a virtual field trip with women in the business world, and then staff team building fun. So I just chose those just to kind of show kind of who we are at Mountain View. I want to start. I really want to highlight tonight our early learning things that are going on in Mountain View. I'm going to start with the Save the Children grant. And then I have Mamie Barbosa from Epic here to talk about the partnership we have with them. And then Brittany Loveland, the partnership with our co-op preschool, Learning Together preschool. So they'll be talking about their programs and how they benefited from this partnership. So the Save the Children grant, I get hired in June, and Dr. Finch says, oh yeah, by the way, Epic's coming, you're getting a new portable, you got a lot of money, and let's, and let's go. So all the things they don't teach you in principal school. So I had to do some research. I did this just the other day because the Save the Children grant, I hear it came from the state and stuff like that. But what does that even mean? So they launched in 1919 at the end of World War I when children were dying of starvation and disease. And there's like one lady that started this. They raised much needed funds to help children across war-torn Europe. Today, work is done in the United States and around the world to give children a healthy start in life, the opportunity to learn, and protection from harm. So you can see that we have a few of those here in our building to children a healthy start in life and the opportunity to learn. Regarding education, they strive to reach those children who are missing out on early learning opportunities. According to their website, we help children get ready for kindergarten and learn to read by 3rd grade, a major indicator of future success. Cannot highlight that one enough. This is straight from the research as well. 80% of a child's brain is developed by the time they turn 3, and yet children from low-income families hear roughly 30 million fewer words by age 3 and can enter school more than 18 months behind their more affluent peers. Millions of kids in rural America don't own a single book. That's why early learning opportunities are so critical for children, regardless of income. And I put that one in there. Every last child deserves the opportunity to learn, and I can't stress that enough. So what has the Save the Children grant done for us here at Mountain View? I could talk for the next hour about this, so I promise I'll cut it off at 55 minutes. I'm joking. This is going to be quick. So at Mountain View, we had the opportunity, and this happened before, the grant was submitted and they awarded and things like that. Epic came in. It's the first classroom here. There was some shuffling that had to take place, but in order for Epic to come here, we had to displace a program people. So we got a new portable. Now the new portable, they began it in late June, early July, something like that. We were granted occupancy the week before winter break, which was a really stressful fall for us because we had music teaching out of classrooms, out of the gym, out of the library, displaced our librarian. I'm grateful for a lot of people being flexible on my staff to make it happen, because now that we've recognized the benefits of this, it was all worth it. So the next part of this, so the portables out there, music's out there now. Then the Epic classroom had $20,000 to order brand new furniture. So you walk into their classroom, you guys should be, board members, before you leave, take a look in there. it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see a developmentally appropriate furniture, furnishings at kids' eye level. It's an amazing program. And Mamie's going to talk more about EPIC in specific, but that grant gave them the funding for the furniture in there and the supplies. So it also allowed us for Learning Together Preschool, Brittany and her crew, to move out to the other half of the portable. She's been at the little tiny room at the end of the gym that used to be a stage about 40 years ago. And now she's got a beautiful area out there. Kind of a side note here. She said she was going to bring a crew of teachers, parents in over that President's Day weekend, that 4-day weekend. And she mentioned it to our custodians, and it happened in one day. So our custodians and her, I mean, it was a Friday morning they started, and Monday morning the kids were in the portables. So that was pretty impressive. She was a little anxious to get in there, I think. So it also has given us the opportunity for creating developmentally appropriate classrooms. And this is, and Peter, I don't know do you want me to go into detail about
We had missions that used the grant.
Yeah.
Grant came from U.S. Senator Patty Murray's office. It was a congressional directed spending.
Because some of the costs for the portable move had to be covered by the district and not by the grant. There's money left over in the grant. So Dr. Finch went back and had them readjust the grant. So now we have a good chunk of money that we're going to be able to outfit all 6 of we have 2 each, 2 kinder, 2 first, 2 second, as well as Brittany's Learning Together Preschool. They're going to have the opportunity to have new developmentally appropriate furniture, furnishings. It's going to open up a whole new level of opportunities for us. My end goal here, before I die or retire, whichever comes first, because I'm not leaving the school, is that we become a model school and people want to come and see us. People want to come and see our preschool. They want to come and see our first grade. They want to see how can you do this in second grade, play-based learning in second grade with standards. But it's going to take a few years, but hopefully we get there. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mamie. So my first slide here, or when I first submitted this, I put that she was the executive director. But the email I got from her last night had on her signature line said Chief Executive Officer, so I had to change it. So I'm going to introduce Mamie Barboza, who's also a West Valley person, and she is right over here, and she's going to come and speak.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for inviting me and including me in this presentation. And more importantly, thank you so much for including our programs and being such a great partner for and supporter of early learning programs. So my name is Mamie Barboza, and I am the CEO for EPIC Early Learning Programs. And EPIC is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We've been serving the Yakima community for over 40 years now, and providing free early learning, early childhood education services to eligible children and families, not only in Yakima, but across Central Washington and North Central Washington as well. We're funded to serve over 1,000 kids and families each year. And we offer a variety of different program models and options that range from services to pregnant women, as well as services for children from the age of birth up until age 5. In order for any child or family to be eligible for our services, there are some eligibility requirements that are required. These come from the various funding sources. Our programs are funded by state contracts as well as federal subcontracts. So we're providing Head Start, Early Head Start, Migrant and Seasonal Head Start, as well as Washington State's version of Head Start, which is called the Early Childhood Education Assistance Program, or ECAP. And that is the classroom that we have here in Mountain View. So the benefits to children and families, most importantly, there are so many, but the top benefits would be school readiness for children and our family engagement for parents and caregivers. We're really working to prepare children to be as successful as possible and as ready as they can be when they enter kindergarten, so that we're setting them up for success, not only in kindergarten, but for the remainder of their career. And there's plenty of research that backs up the importance of early learning and the impact that early intervention and early learning has on children, on families, on our communities, on the world, right? We're really doing big things to change the world, one child, one family at a time. Our enrollment, currently I mentioned we serve over 1,000 kids and families across our different program options each year. Here in the West Valley School District, we have 2 classrooms at Autanum Elementary. We have 1 classroom on the Wide Hollow campus, and our most recent classroom is here at Mountain View. Each classroom has the capacity to serve 20 children. Our classrooms are required to be licensed by the state, and so that's part of why we got a classroom space, because there are licensing requirements that state how much square footage, how many sinks, access to bathrooms, and things like that. So we also want to thank you folks, as well as everybody in the school, for your flexibility and just welcoming us in with open arms to the school. Our partnership with West Valley School District, we've had for quite some time, for a long time now. And it's really important for me to tell people across our region, we are in about 6 different school districts, and our relationship with each school district looks very different. We can just be tenants on campus, or like we are here at Mountain View as well as at Autanum, we are part of the team. And that makes such a difference in our service delivery and really on the impact in the community as far as getting kids and their families ready for school. When Peter called me a couple years ago, I think I was in TJ Maxx, and he calls my cell phone and says, "Hey, I'm applying for funding. I have this vision for Mountain View, and I want Epic to be involved." And like I do anytime Peter calls me with some vision or dream, I said, "Okay." Happy to help. Let me know how we can make this work, because the leadership here at West Valley, as with any other agency or organization, it really starts at the top. And West Valley School District is very fortunate to have so many key leaders like Dr. Finch, like Stacy Drake, like Clayton, who believe in early learning and just really want to set the community up for the best possible process for kids and their families to have a seamless and positive transition into kindergarten. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to speak a little bit about the magic that happens when school districts and early learning programs are able to work together and collaborate. From day one, like I said, Clayton, kind of right before he started, this was already in motion. But from day one, he reached out and said, "I want your staff included in our first all staff meeting." So we were able to arrange our budget and have our EPIC teacher, our classroom assistants, our family advocate come on site the first day and be part of the first day welcome at the school. And that just goes so far in really creating the sense of community, the sense of family, that collaboration and that teamwork approach. And it's really evident. Again, I've mentioned that we're in schools where we're just simply residents on campus. And it's so powerful when we can really join forces and do what's best for kids and families. Another thing that's really exciting, and I do hope you get out to see the EPIC classroom, is that classroom can kind of serve as a lab for kindergarten teachers, first grade, second grade teachers to come in and really remember the magic of play-based learning. See how kids, even as young as 3, 4, 5 years old, are able to problem solve together. See how powerful child-centered practices can be and how capable our youngest learners really are. So we're able to collaborate with those different grade levels, and our preschool teachers are able to go in and see, hey, this is what they're going to be doing in kindergarten. This is what I can do now to really help set them up for success when they start. One more really important thing that is just very special that I wish I could say happened to other districts, but it's only ever happened here at West Valley in a really meaningful way is right now our EPIC teachers are preparing to do their final parent-teacher conference, and they are able to work with the child's kindergarten teacher. So that child gets to meet their kindergarten teacher, whether it's in the home or here at the school, and really make that connection early on. It not only serves that child well, but really the family, because the parent, the caregiver is able to meet that kindergarten teacher and have that relationship months before the child even starts kindergarten. And the power for a child to see their teacher come into their home and interact with them, I mean, that's just so magical and something very special. As far as future wishes or plans, I just continue to have my cell phone ready anytime I get a call from Peter. But really, it's about how do we work together with all different options and models to serve the needs of the West Valley community. And as those needs continue to change, just being flexible and being creative to come to the table and make sure that where there's a need, we're filling that need, we're addressing that need, and we're doing what's best for kids and families.
Thank you. So I'm glad that Mamie mentioned that they're part of us. They're us. We did the Mountain View T-shirt order form early on, and they all wear their stuff, and we do birthday celebrations, and they're there. She mentioned the back to school day, and I made sure they came. So our whole staff, this is a tiny library, obviously, but there was about 10 or 12 of them lined up over there, and it was just really cool. So, like she said, we learn from them. We have troubles in the kindergarten class and the first grade class. They'll go down there and say, how would you do this? And it's just, their kids are coming out, they're kindergarten ready. It's a cool deal. So now we're going to move to Brittany Loveland and her Learning Together Preschool, which is a parent co-op.
Where'd you get that picture?
It was Dinosaur Week, and that's in her new portable.
Hello, my name is Brittany Loveland. I am the owner, director, and teacher of Learning Together Preschool. This is my 12th year teaching and my 3rd year running Learning Together Preschool. One of my most favorite things about being an educator is sharing in the learning experiences with children and families, and that light bulb moment when they finally get it. They're so excited. A little bit of history and background. Learning Together Preschool is also a 501c3 nonprofit cooperation. In 2014, LTP's first year was here with Mrs. Carrie Button. She ran it for a few years, and then it got passed over to my mentor, Mrs. Patlin. So that was 10 years ago. We've been here for 10 years.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. LTP and CLP, Central Lutheran Preschool, are umbrella companies under, will you turn that off, please? Yeah. Sorry, that's my alarm. Oh, wait, I can turn it off. Anyways, LTP and CLP, Central Lutheran Preschool, are umbrella companies under Parent Representative Council for Parent Education Cooperative Preschools. Super long mouthful. CLP's director and myself work together to maintain our nonprofit status organization, as well as individually on our own, maintaining the status of our own. Part of the reason we are able to keep tuition so low is because of such high parent involvement. For example, our tuition for our 4-day program is $120 a month. Our 3-day program is $110 a month. So it gives families an opportunity to obtain early learning at an affordable cost. In fact, I've worked quite a bit with Jerry Lynn Ashbaugh as well. She has referred many families to me, some who don't qualify for EPIC and Head Start, and they're able to obtain that early learning with LTP. So that's been amazing. LTP's vision is to offer a developmentally appropriate program that supports the physical, social, emotional, and intellectual development of young children. Part of being a co-op is that we strongly believe in supporting parents in their roles as primary caregivers and teachers of their children. One of my goals is to expand our outreach to serve as many children and families as possible. So if you guys know of any other elementary schools or places that could house a co-op, please reach out to me or Clayton. Our partnership. LTP values our P3 partnership with West Valley School District to prepare students for school readiness and lifelong learning success. We see just how important it is to collaborate with community members for the alignment of instruction and family engagement practices. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for sewing into Learning Together Preschool. If it wasn't for educators like you guys and school districts like West Valley, we wouldn't be able to provide the support and services that we do. So thank you. Clayton, thank you for getting us a portable. We have an actual classroom. We have windows we can see outside. It's amazing. The kids and I are so blessed. And I also want to thank my board for pouring your heart and soul into Learning Together Preschool to help it run smoothly. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you all very much.
So in the data summit, board members, you saw the kindergarten readiness. All of these things are gonna we can point to that continuing to rise as we offer more early learning opportunities for students. At Mountain View specifically, I didn't include that in there, but not because of this, because EPIC just came, but our numbers are actually like 60% kindergarten ready compared to district wide. We went way down, we went way up. Not anything that we've done here, but it's just the access to early learning. It maybe it's the changing demographics of our community where parents can actually afford it now compared to years past. Maybe they couldn't. There's more of them out there. I don't know the answer. Specifically for EPIC, my goal is that we fill that 20-person classroom with 20 Mountain View boundary kids because we are going to benefit vastly from that. How many of yours are Mountain View kids right now?
I think I have 7 this year.
Yeah, and I think there's 9 of them that are, so that's 16 kids in our building.
And I forgot to include, thank you for including us in this early learning grant for the opportunity to have new furniture and toys. I am so excited for that.
You're welcome. Board members, are there any questions? That's all I have. I just wanted to highlight our early learning cool things going on in Mountain View. Thank you so much.
Oh, got an even better answer.
I'll give people a second if they wanted to depart the meeting. You don't have, we actually have a fairly light agenda, so it'll go quick. But if folks needed to leave, it's perfectly acceptable.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you guys for inviting
Thank you.
me.
Okay, on to item 7, which is public comment. At this time, I'll open it up for public comment. We had no one sign in this evening for public comment. But if anybody would like to address the board on any topic, now would be the time to come forward and do so. Just a reminder that public comment is not a proper forum to address concerns about specific staff members. If a person has a specific concern about a staff member, they're encouraged to make an appointment with Dr. Finch directly to address those concerns. So with that, I'll open the public comment period.
Good evening. My name is Maria Bocanegra, and I just wanted to come and share probably an old idea and bring it back to everybody's attention. So I did see some information for a grant. I'm not sure who to share this with specifically, so I'll just start by just sharing some of the information that I came across. But what I am seeing is, and I guess my idea would be revisiting potentially having a bike and pedestrian pathway to the high school from the middle school area. There's actually a grant that is called Safe Routes to School program, call for projects, that's coming up here in June.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm rummaging through some of the papers here, but it would enable and encourage children, including those with disabilities, to walk, roll, and bicycle to school. Make bicycling and walking to school a safer and more appealing form of transportation, encouraging a healthy and active lifestyle from an early age. I know I'm limited on time, but I will just share that I have seen some students bike to the high school. I've also seen some students that don't quite make the bus to get to the high school, to transport to the high school from the middle school. And so having just a safer method for them to get there, the bike and pedestrian pathway, I think would be something to potentially revisit with the monies that could be used. It is a no match grant, which means you could use some of that money that's left in the fund right now and then be reimbursed for the work that's done to complete a bike and pedestrian pathway.
Maria, if you could stay after the meeting, I'd like to get your contact information because it'd be great to have a parent join us in this work that we're doing on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comments? Mr. Marinacci.
Good evening. Just a few things. Last week, I volunteered my time at the Reality Fair, and what a great experience. Just fantastic job. Kudos to Jamie Zeller and the other staff to give those kids a dose of, maybe a little bit of reality on budgeting. And it was just fun with a number of adults there to have a little fun with the students. Taunt them a little bit and sell them stuff they don't need, and then they realize the consequences of it. So that was really good. A little PSA here for the benefit of the students. So time of year, all the various Rotary clubs have a number of scholarships. And specifically, I'm in Sunrise Rotary. There's a speech contest, and there's the memorial service contest. So to all the parents out there and listening in, if you got a senior, there is money out there, and the speech contest in particular, it's merit only. So it has nothing to do with grades, has nothing to do with financial need. You just got to go out there and do a nice speech. So get on the stick. Data Summit, good job. I really appreciated the additional data I've been sitting through, I think, 4 of these now, maybe 5. One thing I still would like to see, in addition to some of the comments that the board members had mentioned as far as addition, there's that one page, I think it's 64 or 65, where it's titled Program and Characteristics section. And I'd still would like to see if the data could be collected on 2-parent homes. We certainly, when you look through that demographic material that's on that page, they cover on certain characteristics that are very, very small numerical count. And I am not an educational expert, but everything I read out there says there's a benefit of coming from a two-parent home. And I think if you can intersect that data with some of the other data, it might be a little helpful. So anyway, those are my thoughts this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comments? I will close the public comment period. On to approval items. We have a couple this evening. One is to approve minutes from our board meeting on February 27th, which were presented in the board packet. I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries 3-0. Next up is we have a travel request for staff to take students to the Knowledge Bowl state competition in Wenatchee a little later this month. That was presented also in the board packet. I'll entertain a motion to approve that travel request.
So moved.
Thank you. Call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries on the travel request 3-0. On to action items. We have our yearly approval of the 23-24 highly capable program plan, which was also extensively outlined in the board packet. Dr. Finch, anything to add or highlight for us this evening?
No, just that there was a delay from OSPI on the procedure for providing that to them. So usually we do this in the fall, but that's just the reason for the delay was from the state. But administration does recommend approval of the highly capable program for this school year.
Thank you. Any questions from the board members? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the 23-24 highly capable program plan.
So moved.
Thank you. Call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 3-0. Items arising. None this evening. Superintendent's report.
Just in my report, I highlight that I appreciate the principal's follow through. We have a steady stream of positive news about students and staff at each school. That was a goal of the board, is to make sure that we periodically recognize and have that across the whole district. And so we've had follow through on that. And if you go to our district website, you can click on the news section and it just gives a nice positive information about students and staff across the district. So I appreciate the principals following through with that.
Great. Thank you. Board reports, board development.
I just quickly mentioned that I was invited and went and saw Ram Landing the other day, and just an awesome program they have going there with lots of good volunteers, and it's fun to see how many things are there for people that need it, and just appreciate all the work that they do.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well, that concludes the school board meeting. I just wanted to say, maybe in closing, again, thanks for the Mountain View staff for coming out. And I should have said this when Mr. Wyckoff was here, but his enthusiasm being out here is wonderful to hear, along with the rest of the speakers during our program this evening. It's always from the board members' perspective, it's every school has, it's always fun to, I always look forward to what is the school going, what is each school, what is each building going to offer up for their program. So it's a lot of fun, and we enjoy being out here at Mountain View. So thank you very much for that. And with that, we will adjourn.
Sign that.